Welcome to the Goof and Goober Show. You decide who's the goof and who's the goober. Join Matthew and Regan as they talk all things from their own personal life questions to reviews on movies and TV shows. Now, your hosts, Regan and Matthew.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode number 27 of the Goof and Goober Show. I am joined here with two guests. One you might be familiar with, one that it was like that, that weird girl you met at school. You remember her face, but she was in your math class, but you just don't remember her. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're in my math class. We've got one of those in the room. But before I introduce her, Regan Dvorak, my co-host, my buddy, my pal, my brother. How are you doing?
Hey Matt, it's good to see you. It's good to have you here. It was a great, actually, you know what? That was the first intro where I don't think it was cut off by anything. That was probably the best intro we've ever had. If you're not watching it live on Monday, 8 p.m., you're kind of a loser. Not to be like, go at you or anything like that, but like, yeah, I didn't want to say it, but somebody had to say it.
I condone some of it, so yes.
Screw you.
And in the left corner, the person we completely forgot about, but we know that she was here at some point. We have got Sierra Maddock coming in to join the group. What up?
Hey everybody.
Sierra, I've got a couple quick questions for you before we get going. First things first, what is your favorite movie of all time? Why is it your favorite movie of all time? And if you could go back and play one character from history, what would it be and why?
Well, my favorite movie of all time would probably be Wayne's World. It's my favorite.
Wayne's World, party town, excellent.
I really like it because it's got, some good funny bits in it. Some good under the surface stuff that you maybe you don't catch the first time and you got to rewatch it. Good to watch the underlying things, and it's a great story of just underdogs. Am I right? Everybody loves a good underdog.
What's the underdog?
Yeah.
Who's the underdog?
Wayne.
Oh.
From Wayne's World.
Oh.
Have you ever seen that movie? Interesting.
No, it kind of sounds lame to me.
Character.
But if I could play any character, I would probably play, if it were possible, if like maybe roles were reversed or something like that, I would do Ferris Bueller from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I feel like that would be a really fun role.
Why would you say it's a fun role? Do you like Chicago for a reason?
I like having fun.
So
something weird about me. I really
Chicago's
like
fun?
Not necessarily. It doesn't have to be in Chicago.
Well, the whole thing of Ferris Bueller is
and it's
set
gonna
in
be
Chicago.
It's going to be a production, so
And if I'm not mistaken as well, Wayne's World was shot in Illinois as well. Where is he located?
Hey, I was just answering your question. I didn't really think I was going to be judged for it.
Huh.
So,
yeah, she really likes Chicago for some reason.
Why do you like Chicago so much?
I am a guest on this show, and I feel like I'm being judged.
Sounds like you got some
TBH.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be judged.
We feel freaking jerking it in the pre-show.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
if
feel
you
judged
just
all
want to see
the
a girl,
you want to see a multi-sex
boys.
jerk off. You can just
Go
watch
to
the
the
pre-show.
pre-show, right?
Be here on friggin' Mondays, man.
We got a triple jerk today. We jerked it hard. Oh, 4. Isaac freaking jerked it too in the chat.
That's true. He says he jerks at.
Represent.
Way to go, Isaac.
He jerks off every day. Specifically, I mean, quote word for word. He said, "I jerk off every day," and that's word for word. And props to him.
Himself, just by himself.
That's a lot. That is a lot of work.
I'm not gonna lie. Far.
That's a lot of work.
It takes a lot out of you. Jerk it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Like I'm not gonna be able to jerk it tomorrow for sure. 100%.
I gotta take probably a week off. That was a hard one.
Maybe next Monday we'll jerk it again together.
We'll see.
I could do it every day.
Oh,
I got a high tolerance for that stuff, you know. I'm always wanting to do it. Am I right?
not
Am I right, ladies?
I bet
exactly
a lot of people
right,
come to watch you jerk off then every day. I mean, you could probably make a lot of money.
I open my
watching
window
doing
so
that.
everybody can see.
They come right here. Jerk it off.
There's a construction crew right across the street. So
Isaac, you're right. Not all the girls wear capes. You're the greatest hero. If I could be a superhero, I'd want to be Isaac Evanson.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our show today is not to talk a lot about jerking it off, as we did in the pre-show. This is your reminder that if you're not doing anything Mondays at 8 p.m., we have a pre-show. Come listen to it. Come have fun. It's where the boys become men and the women become women, ladies, and we just have a really good time. And yeah, come Mondays. If you're new to the podcast, thank you. Welcome. If you are returning, leave us a like, share our stuff, subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Apple Podcasts. Leave us some comments. Let us know what we're doing well at and what we're not doing well at. We'd love some freaking criticism.
Wow.
We would like to know what we're doing good and bad at.
We haven't gotten any criticism yet. None.
Yep, we
whatsoever.
haven't gotten any criticism yet. So we would like if you have any problems with what we're talking about, we would like to understand. We take criticism very, very well, and we are very coachable. So leave that down below. Today we will be freaking talking about Barbenheimer. Yes, you heard it here, folks. Regan and I. Oh, Isaac's grabbing a pen. He's grabbing a freaking pen right now. Regan and I went to go see Oppenheimer and Barbie this weekend.
Oh, gosh.
And let me tell you what, just right off the rip, this is going to be a very mixed conversation. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. There might be some arguments. There might be some jawing,
maybe some tears too. Maybe
some read between the lines.
There's going to be some read between the lines and a frick yous and the go jerk off, and we're all here for it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun time. But the beauty of the Goof and Goober show is we want to give you transparency. We want to tell you how we feel, and we also want to hear what other people feel about it. And we want you guys along. So down below, leave your comments on what you felt about Barbie and Oppenheimer. Leave it down in the comments. We'll discuss it. We'll chat with you guys. We do respond to every comment. So
we do. We truly do.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, since we have Sierra Maddock here, I think it would be best if we had a quick conversation about the old movie Barbie. And before we get into any spoilers of the movie, right now is your spoiler warning. Go watch the movies. If you don't care about watching the movies and you don't care about spoilers, it's fine. You can stay. But if you do, go friggin' watch it and come back and have a conversation, because we're going to talk all the friggin' spoilers about Barbie and Oppenheimer starting now. I don't want to have to wait anymore on spoilers. Woo! So, ready, on your marks, get set, go! Spoiler! 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 Spoiler warning!
It's spoiler time.
Spoiler!
It's spoiling time.
We spoil the world. That was your spoiler warning. Yeah.
What
Merry
was
Christmas.
that? Oh my gosh.
That was their spoiler warning. We wanted to give them a spoiler warning.
That's our spoiler warning.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk about some Barbie, and we're gonna freaking hit the nail on the head. Sierra, I don't really have any questions for you because I didn't know you were coming on today. So we're just gonna go off the rip. I'm gonna say what I feel, and you can comment. Regan can say how he feels. For me, no, wait. You know what? Since you're the guest, why don't you go first?
And a lady, mind you.
And you're a lady.
Gosh.
Okay, well, I think I know that it's probably a different view than you guys, but I think it was a great movie. I loved the movie. I mean, I think there were maybe... I don't know, I think the movie was just a movie. I think there might have been some could have been taken as political and also could have been taken as not political at all. And it could have just been a good movie. And I think it was just a good movie.
If you were
really fun, and it was just, I don't know, I thought it was really fun, and then it was just kind of just an interesting movie.
Well, if you were to rate it, Sierra, out of 5, what would you give it?
Out of 5 being the best, right?
Yes, 5 being the best.
I would say like a 3.6.
Whoa. Okay.
6. So it wasn't like super good. You didn't like love it.
I didn't love it. Like, it wasn't like, I'm probably gonna see it again, but it's definitely not one of those that it's like, oh, I can watch it whenever or whatever. Like I would definitely, I would watch it for Ryan Gosling again. I think he was super funny in the movie. I think, I don't know, maybe in my house, like in watching it in my home versus a theater might have been different too, but it wasn't really pulling at like emotion strings for me. I felt like, I mean, where it's like, oh, that should have been sad, or something like that, but it wasn't really like it didn't really catch those feelings for me, I guess.
And
okay.
I just thought it was more of a fun movie to watch, and like there's like really funny parts of it that you can watch, and then like, and then there's like some sort of emotion stuff too, but I thought it was overall just a funny movie, but not like mainly it was like an emotion filled movie.
Were you a big Barbie girl growing up?
I was the biggest Barbie girl growing up.
So my question then with that, since you were a big Barbie girl,
yeah,
were there any references in there that you were like, oh yeah?
I feel like they had a lot of like clothing references and a lot of like old doll references, and I think that was just past my time, and I think it was more of like something that like the directors maybe did research on, and it was kind of like, oh, what a cool fact that was, they actually did that, and it was kind of like a one-time thing that nobody really knew about. It was like, they said this, it was like discontinued after the first year or whatever, a lot of those dolls that they mentioned, right. And so then it was like a pregnant doll, or like Alan, like I've never heard of Alan, the Ken doll, or not a Ken doll, an Alan doll.
I don't think there was there an Alan doll?
Yeah.
I don't know, I wasn't into the boy dolls, just the girl dolls,
because that was Alan. I thought
he was like the one-off weird one
doll. I don't think, maybe I slightly remember the pregnant doll mom, but I don't really.
Oh, I see. It is a guy.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, all of those.
I thought that was a joke.
Alan, he gets nerd.
Yeah,
or
totally.
Like the sugar daddy one.
Yeah,
that was funny.
Yeah. So I really want to get to the issue of the movie, and I want to understand your point of the big issue for me. So as you know, I think I have a child. I have a daughter.
Yes, I do know that. Yes,
I know you know that. I was just kidding. I have a 2-year-old daughter, almost. And for me, when I think of Barbie, I'm thinking, okay, this is a good kids movie that it's gonna have fun, it's gonna have quirkiness to it, it's gonna be goofy. But then when you get into the movie, this is not a kids movie at all.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah.
Not like for me as a dad, right? Like when she gets older, this is a movie that I probably won't take her to. Right. A, because of the message, but also because of some of the humor just isn't something I want my child to be exposed to. As a 5-year-old, I don't know how old you are. As a woman of your age, being that you grew up with Barbies, now you're seeing a movie where they're trying to depict the Barbie itself. How do you see this impacting like the younger generation? Like, is this something that you would recommend for young girls to try to chase after, or try to model their life after? Or I really want to understand your thoughts here.
No, I don't think, I think I went in knowing that it wasn't a kid's movie too, just from like the previews. I think like the jokes that they had in the previews, and I think I saw like Margot Robbie in an interview say that like, oh, this movie is for everyone, but I would not at all say that. They had I mean, they bleeped the swear word, but they had a swear word in it, and then just like crude, humor. Mm-hmm. Crude is that the word? Is that like okay?
Yeah,
I'm using it right. So one, wouldn't recommend it for kids. Two, for like the whole like Barbie recommend, like, are you asking about like recommending like Barbies as toys for little kids, or?
I'm talking about solely the movie itself, because I think we all can agree that Barbies in and of itself have not been a problem in society, right? Like it's a toy, but then you have a movie that's depicting the toy. It almost draws that line of, like, obviously we're Christians, right? So like we have to draw a line between what we expose our children to, and I know you don't have a kid, maybe not yet, unless, I don't know, but there's things that you have to expose, you should expose your children to, and you shouldn't expose your children to, just based off of that fact. And so the reason why, and I'll just give you my rating, from a movie's perspective, I actually don't think we're that far off. I think I would give it a 2.5 overall. 2.5, mostly leaning on the actors and the cinematic experience in and of itself.
Right.
Ryan Gosling absolutely crushed it. Margot Robbie absolutely crushed it. Right. All of the Kens absolutely crushed it, and made me believe that this was like, hey, this is a Barbie world. I'm a Barbie world. They made it believable, and they made it fun to watch at certain points. But the problem that I have is, as a father, this movie really hit on a lot of toxic masculinity being a big driving factor for the plot of this movie, where a lot of what happened in this movie doesn't actually translate to the real world, unless it's like a one-off scenario, but it's painting it as a picture that this happens all the time, and maybe sending a kid, like a young kid, to this movie would implant that type of belief in men, where men, generally speaking, don't do what happened in the movie, if that makes sense. Like, I use this as an example, is the scene where I don't know how to differentiate. I'll say Ryan Gosling. Yeah, because there's so many Kens.
That makes sense.
Ryan Gosling, the Ken. Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, they skate. They first get to California, then they meet up, and they meet up with the construction people, and they meet up with a guy who slapped her in the butt, as we assume, right? Like, that stuff doesn't happen in real life. Like, that, people just don't go up and hit people in the butt. Guys don't just walk up, or people just don't cat call women like that. All the time, and it painted a picture that
definitely not as much as they depict in the movie.
Right. And so the reason why I bring this up, Regan sent me a video. This guy, this YouTuber, a guy from Barstool, basically was saying, if you were upset about some of the messages in the movie, you're basically not an adult. You're a child, basically, because you feel that way.
It's KFC.
I'm curious what your thoughts are, because do you feel, as a woman, does that depict what real life really is? And I think I know the answer. I don't think it is, but you can obviously explain. Do you think that this is accurate depiction for young women to see and say, hey, in reality, holy crap, this happens to me all the time, but in reality it doesn't? So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that whole thing.
I think, yeah, you're right. Like, the movie definitely, like, dramatizes it. It definitely doesn't happen like that. I think if it does happen, I've never been catcalled, but I've also lived in small towns my entire life. I lived in St. Paul for maybe a year, but I was inside the whole time. So I don't think, I guess, coming from my standpoint of a small town girl, that's never been my experience, and I know that it does happen. I don't think it happens in the way that I think the movie depicts it as, it was maybe 10 years ago, maybe, I think I do remember as a kid even being not catcalled, but definitely looked at. even in a small town, my dad and my sister and I were walking to the grocery store, and my dad had to yell at a guy because he like looked at us for like our butts, kind of thing when we were kids. And so like that, I think there is an issue of that. And I don't know if it's, just like my small town that it hasn't happened to me, or like what I look like or whatever. But, I guess, yeah, I haven't experienced it. I think I think cities are a different thing as well. And I think, to be wary of going into the city, knowing that it's kind of like there's some different people that are in a city, and that like might think like it's okay, to catcall a woman. I don't think it's as obviously as bad as what they're even near to as bad as what the movie depicted, though.
Yeah, I remember actually as a kid that my mom got catcalled.
Yeah, my mom would get
well, here's the truth, everyone. If you don't know, Sierra is actually my sister. Fun fact.
Sorry.
I've been holding it back this whole time.
Oh, no.
So,
to be unbiased.
but Sierra, you are. I mean, there's a lot to comment on that. First thing I want to say is, I don't think it's because of what you look. I think you're absolutely beautiful. I think, you know what? I think guys should catcall you. I think, just kidding. But I do think times have changed a lot from when we were kids, and I don't think it is as often as we would assume to say that it's happening. I've walked around the cities a lot. I've been around. I've never really seen anything like that nowadays. Never really witness it or anything like that. Not saying like it doesn't happen, because I'm sure it does happen. And it's not saying that, but I think it's very minor thing that is happening.
But I think we both agree that it happens, but I think the problem with this movie is that it victimizes the women in making it like a large point to the movie that women can't, like, it's basically women versus men. That's what the whole movie is basically about. That's what it is. And the divide between men and women, right?
Yeah.
In reality is that like men want to be with women, and I think most men, you get some jerk offs, guys who freaking jerk it like Isaac all the time.
Beach
off. The beach off guys, exactly.
Beach you off.
And they have a different viewing of what men, like society looks like for men and women. And I think this movie, if as a father, I don't want my child to watch that, because I don't want her to feel like she's a victim, because they over dramatize situations that don't really happen that often. And I don't want my child to feel like she can't do anything because she's a woman. But this whole movie's like basically depicting that now that Barbie's in society or reality, now she can't be who she was back in Barbie land, if that makes sense, right? Like she was all powerful with women, but now with men she's not, when in reality, the reality of the situation is men and women are equal, and it comes down to hard work, dedication, not being victimized or victimizing yourself, and going after what you want to go after, right? Like I don't know. Maybe it's my man opinion, my mansplaining. But I want to know your thoughts on that after me stating that.
Yeah, and I think I guess in my perspective, I thought that like the whole like her going into the beach scene and going into California and all the catcalling and all this, it was kind of more to show just how different our world is than her world, and not necessarily like I don't know if there was necessarily a political, maybe like they made it purposely or accidentally, but I thought the purpose was just to show that there was a drastic difference from what she's used to than to what she's experiencing. Not necessarily like, oh, this is what the real world is, but because like same with like when Ken went into that office, and was like, oh, what's this patriarchy or whatever, and like that guy is like, oh, well, we don't say it out loud anymore, kind of, but it still happens or whatever. Like, I felt like that would never be said ever said. I mean, maybe from a really radical person, but it was just to point out I think how different the two worlds are.
Sure. I will say, just so you women know, that us men, we don't talk about patriarchy. We don't even think about it. Nothing. But that's where the movie also makes me a little bit weary, is like, even Ken, for an example. And by the way, Ryan Gosling absolutely killed Ken in this movie. Gosh. I think we all can agree with that. It was hilarious. He was great.
Superb.
Horses. But it also, obviously, the writing itself, when you go back and you think about how they wrote the story, why did they write the story the way it is? And like, the first thing that Ken sees is patriarchy. He sees, men rule the world, basically. And then it's depicted as that's the fact, or that's reality of the situation. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like, that's kind of I don't know, maybe it's a dig at men, because I'm a man and I'm watching this movie, right? And the first thing that he wants to think about is, how can I basically rule Barbie world, or Barbie land, or whatever it's called. But in reality, like, that was never the case. You know what I mean? Like, that he never had thought about that before, but that's how reality is today for men, is that we don't think every single day, how do we rule Barbie land, or how do we rule this society? How do we rule this? And it made it seem like that's the first thing men think about.
Yeah. I think for me, how I took it as I don't know, I felt like I related more to Ken, I guess, of like, not relate to Ken, but I kind of see where, like, this gender kind of norms are being seen more through Ken than through Barbie, I think. Because he was in a world where he didn't have any power. Like, we don't even know where he, like, sleeps at night, where he has a house, kind of thing. And the world only revolves around Barbie, and that's it. And Ken is just there, kind of thing. And now when he gets in the real world, he realizes, oh, I have this option that I can have some power. And it was like, I think for me, it was like, oh, it's just as simple as, like, somebody asked for him for the time, and he was like, what a great honor,
Is that how women feel? Because I feel like Ken, and this is just my opinion, is that the roles kind of reversed in Barbie land, if that makes sense. That's what they were trying to depict, that Barbie, the women were the men of society, and Ken and women, or in the women, he plays that society in Barbie land.
Right. Yeah. And
if that makes sense.
I think, like, to an extent, we do feel like that, of like, oh my gosh, like, we're actually seen from this other gender. And we have, I think we kind of maybe hold power towards, the men as well, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, they're actually talking to us, or, oh my, like, I'm actually being recognized at work. I get stopped because, to just be like, somebody trusts me to ask me, like, the time, like, and not like, oh, I can't talk to them or whatever, or something like that. Like, I don't know. I think like, to an extent that is true for women, but I mean, obviously not to the extent of the movie. Like, it's dramatized, like I said, it's, but to an extent.
I think it is for sure dramatized, and I get that they're trying to make a joke out of it.
What is a dramatized?
Dramatized.
You're missing a letter.
Dramatized.
Dramatize me, Captain. But like, I mean, they got a lot of, like, the history done, because you're led to believe that Ruth was the creator of, well, I guess she was the creator of Barbie.
She was the original creator.
She was the original creator of
did not see that coming, and I should have. I don't know.
Yeah, well, but the thing is like it wasn't just Ruth. It was her and her husband Elliot and Matson and Harold Matt. So it's Ruth and Elliot Handler and Harold Matson, and the Barbie isn't what set them up. It was a yucca doodle, which is basically just a small little ukulele.
Smaller than a ukulele.
Yeah, a child-sized instrument designed to make music more interactive and accessible. Apparently, that's what it is. But like that, they came in with the whole corporate thing. That whole corporate thing with Will Ferrell and all that stuff.
Oh, hilarious!
I mean, I haven't really been able to get my review on this. It's just been you and Matt going off, and so screw you guys. But the
man has
I completely agree.
I love how MSNBC created an article for Barbie, and they said the article name is "Can is a bell hook's critique come to life in Barbie?"
What is bell hooked?
Bell hooks?
Yeah,
I mean,
look it up.
Bell hooks.
I'll read you the definition.
Okay, thank you. Because you find it funny somehow.
Yeah, it also says.
I'd like to share the humor.
It also says the caption is Ken's Barbie character parodies real-world toxic masculinities.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys or Regan, but I ain't wearing no stupid fur coat and a headband just because of me being a man.
The patriarchy.
Thing.
No, but that's the thing. The funny thing, I think, the thing that's so ironic about Barbie is that the men are the one that saved the movie. They're the ones that made this movie so good. I'm not saying there wasn't any like good women actor. I think Margaret Robbie was good, and then Kate McKinnon. I think she was hilarious. But other than that, those two, they weren't like as good as prominent as Ryan Gosling or Will Ferrell or Simu Liu or whatever that guy is named.
Oh, I definitely think that.
Yeah,
and always makes his mark on things.
But the thing is like it's funny because they're trying to and I see it is that they're trying to crap on men because this is just a big anti-men movie. I feel like because I mean that's what I got out of it. If you look at the like if
have you ever watched a movie where it's crapped on all women? I
mean, the woman who
like this is
made
the first
this
movie I've ever watched where it's just crapping on men the entire time.
That's true. And it also is talking about all men want to do it. Like all you got to do is just ask them am I doing this right, or I have no idea how to edit this Adobe Photoshop
that was for
thing.
A doll, Regan. That was for a doll. Are you a doll?
A doll?
Yeah, but these dolls are being
a doll.
The dolls are being portrayed as reality in this movie.
That's what they're trying to show because they're bringing
Barbie Land is what's the word? It's a utopia. It's the utopia that they wished.
Because if they had because they're saying that it would be a perfect world if women were always like if they had all the control. If they had all the control. It would be perfect. We would have the perfect utopia. Girls would have. I mean, I do get that's the thing though. I do have to say and have to be honest because they were very honest that Ken was not happy. But it was not because, but it wasn't because of a system. It wasn't because of the whatever system they had in place. It was because he couldn't be with Barbie. And that's, but the point of what I'm saying is that they're trying to say is men were trying to become the system. They were trying to run the government, and Barbies were in charge of the government. But they said, no, if they get in charge of the government, then it's going to turn into the real world. It's going to be the crap world that the woman, what's her face?
America Ferrera.
Yeah, Gloria. It's going to be,
Goofball.
Yeah. It's going to become the real world, and you're going to hate yourself, and you're going to have to fight everything. You're going to have to earn your way. You have to keep it the way it is.
Well, I think like one thing that we have talked about too is that the Barbie Land is kind of the inversion of kind of like the gender roles or, you know, whatever it may be, you know, over here.
Right.
And so for, you know, it could be even supporting men in a way of like, because that's an inversion, and now it's like, oh no, women should, like in Barbie land, it's saying like women should be where they're at, and because it's inversion, then wouldn't it be males should be in power?
What do you mean? Like
So we've said before like that. I thought maybe we didn't agree on this, but it felt like we agreed on this, that like in Barbie land seems like they're trying to depict that Ken over there is what women are over here, right?
in some ways. I don't necessarily agree with that because it's a.
I'm not saying it's the correct, but I think like that's what they're trying to depict.
I don't think women are there, but I think that that's what they were trying to depict. That's what.
So I'm saying because of that, because they already just declared that it's an inversion because they were trying to make Ken the woman version. If women were to rule our world, wouldn't turn out great, right? But we do a slow process, right? Does that make sense?
Well,
am I making sense at all? Do you guys get it? No.
I'm a little lost.
I think I am. Like, because are you trying to say that? Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I really don't see how any of the movie really puts men in the light.
Yeah. Just that they're really funny.
Except that they're really
and
funny
good singer,
actors,
and they have got freaking rock hard abs.
Yeah.
They're freaking rock hard.
And they're
That's
only
about
good
it.
for being, a partner to a woman.
Doing stuff.
Well, not
I also
even a partner to a woman because, what I didn't like was the fact that it was supposed to be Ken in Barbie. Like that's why, that's why Mattel made Ken is to have a partner for Barbie.
Right.
But now Barbie's pushing away Ken and saying she doesn't need a man. Essentially,
right.
That's what she's basically saying. She doesn't need a man, and she can run and do whatever she wants. She doesn't need a man to be with her. Which, to some women, that could be empowering. I feel, right? They feel, oh, I don't need a man. I could do this myself. But in reality, it's the coexistence of man and women that has gotten this world to where it is, which isn't perfect, but it was how God designed the world to be is in conjunction with man and women. And this movie's clearly pushing that away at the end of the movie.
I felt like it was a little bit more, I don't know, like it was kind of saying like, Ken, you can have your own dreams, like you don't have to be just with Barbie kind of thing. I think there's a lot of people that, it's kind of touching on the basis, and I think we, like in the Christian community, for sure we struggle with this, where we find our identity in our relationship, and that's it. And so I think, one, that was a really good message, I think, was that like, hey, you need to find out, like, in order to have a good relationship, you need to know who you are before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the whole thing is about that is that, as a Christian, we also advocate for having a relationship, having a good relationship. And
we also don't advocate for it. If you don't need it, then don't have it.
With Christ?
Oh, and with Christ, but I'm saying relationship as in like married couple, kind of women and men relationship.
Yeah, but like I think I agree with the premise that you cannot base yourself and your image or your life off of one person, one individual. That would just be your everything, human wise.
Right.
I agree. But I think in a Christian perspective, we do base everything in our relationship with Christ. If we want to bring in Christ. But I don't think what's-her-face who made this, what's her name? Greta Gerwig?
Greta Van Buren.
Why do you put in these extra letters? Gerwig? That's not
because it's fun, Sierra. This is a podcast that we're supposed to have fun on.
First off, Regan is the worst reader I have ever met. Okay, he is the worst.
My son's better than me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very impressed at how fast he's.
And he freaking told me about the story for homeschooling that you guys did. Your mom would just skip the things that
she wouldn't skip it.
she
just
skip
wouldn't.
things
She wouldn't like. She
were
wouldn't.
too easy
What?
or too hard.
No.
Excuse me.
No, I never said that. She wouldn't just. She would not pay attention. She just would like, oh, go read this, and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to read it, and then she'd ask me, did you read it? I'm like, yep, and then she'd like, okay, and then wouldn't check.
Oh,
Yeah,
lucky
so that's
you.
skipping it.
Wow.
But no,
I
she
would
wouldn't
be-
like. She would think that I actually did do it, but like she wouldn't like. Oh, we're just gonna skip it. You made it
this
sound
is
like
too
she was
hard.
gonna.
We'll skip over it.
Like I would be like that. It's too hard. I don't want to read.
But then lie
That's-
about it. So
Yeah,
you're,
then I'd
you're
lie
gonna
about
blame it
it.
on
So
mom
then I'd-
because you lied? Wow.
Yeah, it's not. Matthew's the one blaming it on mom here.
Okay.
No, but like what I was saying, like I don't think Greta is. Well, I was reading a little bit about her. She did grow up Catholic, but I don't.
No, I don't think
if
it was a Christian message. I'm not
I
saying.
don't think it's a Christian message. So that's
No,
that's
I
the
just
thing.
think like
with-
we
With,
can
Christian
still get a
message.
Christian
Duh.
message.
but
from
yeah,
it.
and so that's what I'm trying to say is like, well, if we want to bring in Christianity, we can't really do that with this movie because the person who made it isn't really a Christian.
My thing was that basically all of these events happened when she was in the real world, and then she had the mother, the one that was paired with Barbie.
Yep.
She basically acknowledged and accepted and said, yep, that's the reality of the world that happens to all the time. That's where I have a problem. Is that dichotomy where she's not from the reality, if you will. And now her advocate, which is her child that she played with, or she played with the Barbie,
played with
the
her,
adult, yeah, whatever, you know what I mean. Is now she's saying, well, is that how the real world really is? And now she's got this advocate who's like, yeah, happens all the time. I got to deal with it all the time. When it's like, when a little girl goes and sees that, like, because I've noticed Regan and I, because we go to Sierra, I don't know if you know this, but Regan and I go to a lot of freaking movies, and we watch a lot of freaking TV. So we analyze, like, we're analyzing things farther than a normal person would. And we have to think about things a little bit farther than what I would before we started this podcast. Because now we have to talk about the issues within this movie, and seeing a movie where it's advocating and saying, is this the reality? And then having someone say, yeah, it's the reality for a kid's movie. When it's advertised as a PG-13, where, you know, there was a ton of little girls in that movie.
Oh yeah, I was about
It
to
was
be like,
so
hey,
many
you
of
guys
those.
shouldn't be here.
Yeah, you guys shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But that's
and
what
I
they.
think
advocate
non-Christians
for
even
reality
believe that
saying-
too. You know, I've heard, like, you know, people that are not Christian also say, like, this is not a kid's movie.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I think it would.
But you don't think that's dangerous for women? For them to go to a movie, watch a movie like that, and then be told that this is reality, and having an advocate in the movie basically say it is? Because that's how people think nowadays. Like, they watch movies, they get their beliefs, some feelings from their movies because they see it in picture, in story format.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said before, like, this movie didn't bring up, I guess, like, any emotions for me either. Like when America, the actress was, you know, going off about, like, you know, all of the wrong things in our world or whatever, I completely zoned out because I didn't even listen to that. So I apologize for not having good content
don't
on that.
apologize.
However, I think, you know, too, like, I don't know, like, that's hard because I do think, you know, some especially like the younger generation definitely goes off of movies, and for sure I do too, you know, in little ways and bigger ways and, you know, whatever ways. However, this just didn't have that effect, I guess, on me. And I also think too, like, I mean, I guess I've seen the actress America in a lot of different shows and movies and things like that. And she plays pretty much the same character every time, and that's her character. You know,
Sure.
so I don't think for me, I guess, because I've seen her play that character, I guess, like so many times, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's just like, okay, like here we are again. And I don't think, again, I don't think it's true for everyone, but I don't think it's false for everyone too, of that perspective. But I think it's getting smaller and smaller, because maybe because of the awareness, maybe because, you know, we're just getting better as a society, or maybe we're going downhill. I don't know.
I think I don't know if you could say that, because I mean, if you are, I mean, this is a, you know, big movie right now. I think they've made what, 100 million? How much have they made? I mean,
Oppenheimer's, I think, made like over 100 million now.
I know they've done better than Oppenheimer so far.
Okay, yeah.
But we got to get onto that soon, because I mean, this is one of the big things we did want to talk about. But Oppenheimer is one of it's Barbenheimer, you know.
Right.
Barbenheimer.
Well, did you guys see Barbie or Oppenheimer first?
Oppenheimer.
We saw Oppenheimer first.
I've heard that kind of can put Barbie as lower of like. I feel like
we're actually going to go see Barbie first.
Yeah, I think the best, you know, lineup. If those of you who have not seen it, maybe you're not here because of the spoiler alert. But if you haven't seen it, see Barbie first and then Oppenheimer. If you go see it based off of our warnings.
Yeah, I mean, I always advocate you go watch it and make your own determination, but I'm going to give my personal opinion.
Right.
I think final thoughts is, overall, I think it was a funny movie. We had some parts where it was really funny, and the message for me just didn't hit home for me. And it isn't something that I would recommend for any kid, and I think we all agree with that. It's not a kid's movie by any means. Just a lot of crude jokes and things that kids probably shouldn't be watching. But overall, I mean, again, I think it was funny at times. Just the message just wasn't there, and that's our personal opinions.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, there wasn't really a message. It was just fun.
Yeah, I would say it is fun. But the message I didn't agree with, as well as I did get something I really now enjoy, and that's.
I forgot.
Doesn't seem to matter what I do.
That song is now my new favorite song. I don't know what it is.
And that's Ryan Gosling actually singing, because
yeah, it is Ryan Gosling.
Wow. Oh yeah, I forget that he was like a singer.
He's such a talented individual.
And a dancer, I think,
dude,
too. Oh my gosh.
I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling. And
have you guys seen like the little, like when he was in dance class when he was like a little kid?
Oh yeah.
He killed it.
So
he was killing it.
So cute.
He killed it so good. But okay.
Side note, it is true. I feel like everybody should go see it. If you haven't seen Sound of Freedom either, go watch Sound of Freedom. Talk about a message that actually means something, and a message that needs to be heard. If you don't have any tickets, finances are in the way, there are free tickets that you can get. We'll post a link down below where you can get the free tickets. We'll find it and give it to you guys.
Go see it, Isaac.
Talk about a movie with the message. We talked about it last week. Definitely go see it.
Sure, have you seen it?
Child trafficking is a big problem.
We're gonna go see it though.
God's children are not for sale.
Amen.
Yeah, I just saw a sidewalk chalk art in my neighborhood about stop sex traffic.
Ooh.
Stop, and about, you know, it said God's children are not for sale.
God's children are not for sale.
They are.
Figured I'd throw that in there.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is concluding our Barbie chat. If you don't see it, I'll buy the ticket to... nice. Isaac said he'd buy a ticket to support. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, there should be no reason why you can't go see it.
He's gonna buy a Barbie ticket for support?
No. Sound of Freedom. That's our Barbie talk. We're going to be jumping into some Oppenheimer And boy, oh boy, do we have a long freaking session to talk about with this movie.
Oh gosh.
Talk about a long 3-hour movie that was.
What
I don't know about you guys. This movie was like straight talking, and I don't know. It was super engaging the entire movie. Still, it was crazy. So we're gonna jump into that. Regan, give us your first thoughts on Oppenheimer.
Yeah, first thoughts of Oppenheimer, just filled with stars. Just you're going from scene to scene. You're like, wait, they have him. They got freaking Matt Damon, Josh Peck. You got freaking what's his name, Michael Angario, guys from Spider-Man. I don't know. Just it kind of, the list just keeps going on and on. You're like, who else are they gonna bring in? It was a kind of hard, like, it is, you really have to focus in on this movie. Cillian Murphy, my guy, he is. But you really do have to focus in on this movie and like really pay attention to what they're saying. You can't just watch it and be like, okay, it's going good. Kind of like, I feel like if you, I don't know. I feel like if you just watched it, you just would be bored and you'd fall asleep. But it's one of those movies that you really do need to pay attention because it's the historical event that's happening. So you kind of do need to keep up with what's going on and what's happening because there's parts where you really have to connect other things. But I like the movie. It was, when we were done, Matthew and I looked at each other. We kind of were like, what was the point of this? Like, why did they make this? And I think it's more because we had the last movie we saw was Sound of Freedom, and it, Sound of Freedom has so much moral and like big picture behind the story. But then you go to this and you're like, well, what the heck was this? The point of this? But I think
I learned about it.
Right. I was like,
nothing I can really do.
It did make me kind of more like a pump for historical events. Like I should really get to know my history because I had no idea about Oppenheimer until now, and kind of makes me want to be more scientific, historical, scientific.
You can say scientific, right?
Scientific.
Screw you guys. I'm just trying to have a good time. You guys are just, you can't even freaking take it. It's got Josh Peck in it, guys, from Drake and Josh.
Peck? What? I didn't even know he was acting still.
Oh, you haven't seen this year?
No, I haven't.
Let me just tell you something.
Just kidding. Please don't quite align.
I agree with everything Regan said. I just want to hit again on the freaking actors part. Me and the freaking girl behind, like right next to me, literally every 2 seconds, all I hear is over to my right, and she's like saying the same thing. Can't believe this guy's in this movie. How is this guy in the movie? Oh my gosh, this guy's in the movie. And she's like, that's Rami Malek. And I'm like,
who the heck is Rami Malek?
Rami Malek?
He's the guy.
Yeah.
You don't know who Rami Malek is? He played all the little things. He was the main actor there. He played Freddie Mercury in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. He's a big actor.
He's like olive skinned.
I was telling Regan in the middle of the movie.
Oh, Rami Malek.
Yeah. Rami Malek. Yeah, I was telling Regan in the movie, how are these people gonna get paid? These are all big time actors. There's not going to be a budget to share.
I mean, 3 hours long, and they haven't really made as much even as Barbie, which is kind of crazy to me.
Because people
so,
can dress
I agree.
Barbie.
Like, how are they going to be making money off of this? I mean, they even got the guy from Santa Claus, freaking David Krumholtz.
Yes, Bernard. Bernard was in this movie.
Bernard was there, dude.
Bernard!
Santa Claus was there!
Santa Claus is coming to town. I don't know. And then I mean, they got Casey Affleck.
What about women?
Such a
right?
No, seriously.
There was
Emily
some
Blunt?
pops. Emily Blunt was a big one.
Florence Pugh, love Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, huge.
I don't
We
even know
freaking
who
saw
that-
her freaking kahookus.
Who's?
Like,
Oh,
Boobies
that's
or
right.
all straight boobies.
I forgot there was nudity in it.
Yeah, it was.
That's
Regan
rated
walked
R.
away
Not for children.
and he missed it. Not for children. Not for children.
Santa Claus.
When it happened, Regan and I like turned to each other. We're like,
Oh,
we like looked at each other. We're like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? Like, we weren't expecting it.
Well,
Hey,
I will
Cillian
say,
Murphy's kind of
one,
naked in this
Axel
too.
with you still?
No.
You get with
This was such a
7-year-old
late show. Let's be real. Let's be real, Regan.
dude.
This was the dumbest movie like we've ever been to in terms of the timing. We worked all day, and then the movie was at 9:20 or something like that, and we were up until like 1 o'clock,
Oh my
1:30 for this
gosh.
movie.
Wow,
It was
you
the dumbest
guys.
thing we've ever done, but it was good. I will say there is one actor
Yeah.
I do wanna point out
J-Lo
that I don't think
movie.
anybody would have realized, but I realized it because this movie was a big
Oh,
movie
yeah.
growing up
Hard
for me.
feelings.
Is Michael Angarano, who played he played in Sky High
Yeah.
I
as Will
love-
Stronghold.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know.
He was
what-
in there. He
I
was in there
forget-
for
I
a
didn't
little
even
bit.
know
I was
he
like,
was
in
I know that guy.
Angaro?
I know that guy.
Where,
that guy's from freaking
I just
Sky
saw that.
High.
I don't remember seeing him. But
Yeah, it was for a brief moment, and I was like, I know that guy. I know that guy.
I remember him from Forbidden Kingdom, starring Jackie
Forbidden
Chan
Kingdom.
and Jet Li.
Oh, yeah.
The first ever time Jackie Chan and Jet Li came
Oh, yeah.
together and made a movie.
I do
Oh, it
remember
was
that.
a great moment. It was a freaking moment.
I remember you
Ugh.
loved watching that movie. You were obsessed.
It was like
It was
one of
so
my
good.
first. No, it might have been my first DVDs I ever bought. I think it was
Yeah.
actually. I think it was the first DVD I ever bought.
Mhm.
Chicken Little was the very first DVD I ever owned. Yeah,
What?
Same with the Isaac said that. Isaac said
The-
same with the new J-Law movie.
no hard feelings.
Awkward J-Law.
That
Awkward
that
moment.
one's gotta
Freaking
have.
caught me off.
Yeah, booby movies in
J-Lo?
it.
Booby dooby doobies.
Yeah, one of those ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
but this whole movie
are?
was star-studded.
and that's why we went to see the movies for the movies.
Yes, we knew about it going into it.
Mm-hmm.
They also had Alex Wolff. He was the guy who played in Hereditary. He was also in Jumanji. He was in the movie Old. Man, like
Oh, I do like Alex. Yeah.
I literally was telling Regan, I don't know how these guys are going to get paid because there's like 40 to 50 actors that are some big name actors that I don't know how you share the wealth for this movie unless it just continues to blow off the shelves. But I think we can notably talk about 2 to 3 actors that were really the biggest pieces to the show. And I think it comes down to Emily Blunt,
Ayo.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
as Louis Strauss and Cillian Murphy. And let me tell you what,
I think it's pronounced
Those 3.
Killian.
I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
I had to look it up. It is Killian.
Is it Killian?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Killian. I just butchered your name.
Yeah, it's just-
We got Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Emily Blunt. Let's just talk about Emily Blunt here for a second. Emily Blunt, she plays Kitty Oppenheimer. She is Oppenheimer's second wife, right? Because
No, I think it's his first wife.
Florence Pugh was married to him, and then they had a divorce, I think.
No, I don't. I think
I didn't know
They
Florence
said
Pugh
it
was
was
that
his
old.
ex.
From what?
It was his ex-wife or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. But wife boothing something. And let me tell you what, she freaking killed this role as her husband is a playboy billionaire genius, just like Tony Stark was. But this guy he's very smart, very like, hey, how can I help the world? Thinking beyond. It was a joke, Regan. Understand the joke.
No,
it was just
I'm
a
reading
joke.
Isaac's message. Matthew's wrong again, like itineraries.
Matthew's wrong again, like itineraries. Thank you. You have an itinerary when you go to the Boundary Waters, Isaac. It happens. But she plays the role as kind of the side piece, or basically the wife of Oppenheimer, Emily Blunt. And we really see her kind of expand the character, and we see her emotion of kind of being the wife, noticing that her husband's really getting yanked around the entire time, right? Like he's being pulled from the government, he's being pulled from the military and the science, from him having connections to communism. And I just think that she depicted what you would expect a stressed, upset wife would be, who's at home with her child all the time, trying to figure out how to operate the world. Plus the stress of what silly Cillian Murphy has to go through as Oppenheimer. And so I think for me, she gets a 5 out of 5. Personally, with her performance and her depiction, I really liked it. It definitely sold me on the fact of the pain. I need to watch this movie. Frick. Sorry, Isaac. It sucks for you. Sucks for you, man. Oppenheimer dies at the end of the movie, so sorry you missed that.
Oh gosh, I can't believe you.
I just ruined it for him. And so she killed it, man. And so I'm gonna give that a 5 out of 5 for sure. Regan, what's your thoughts after seeing the movie?
No, I think after this, I mean, there's very little that I can say that was wrong with this. And then, but like the only thing I could say that would be wrong is just to follow. Like, it was kind of harder to follow, to kind of understand what's going on. Like there's a political thing in here that you're like at the very end with Robert Downey Jr. and you're like, what the heck is going on? And maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand it, or maybe I just was completely baffled, or maybe you need to know a little bit more about historically what was going on. But it was kind of like
enough dramatizing.
I think that's like the director, also like the person who made the movie, like that's his style of movies. Like he likes because he made
Batman,
Inception, and
the one with like the books coming out, like with Matthew McConaughey,
Interstellar.
It's really complicated movies and like trippy movies.
He does, and I think he is such a great. I love Christopher Nolan. I think he's a great director. He does a fantastic job of. I mean, those movies are like
Insomnia,
his main
Prestige.
Yeah, like he is I don't know. I love Christopher Nolan and the movies he's done. I mean, there's barely any movies that he hasn't failed at. Like, because he's done.
Justice League.
No,
Justice League sucked.
He didn't do Justice League.
Batman versus Superman sucked.
He said barely. Okay, that doesn't.
Batman versus Superman. He did Man of Steel. You think Man of Steel sucked?
Did I say Man of Steel?
In Justice League, he had to come in. He had to come in after Zack Snyder was directing it, and then have to recommit a whole thing. Batman versus Superman wasn't that bad.
He is a legend. I'm not saying he isn't a legend, but he also he had some highs and he had some lows. Let's just be real. He had some highs, he had some lows. Some real lows.
Please. But
I haven't watched Batman versus Superman since the movie theater that it came out in 2016.
It's not that bad, dude.
It was pretty bad.
It's horrible.
It was
what
pretty
was so bad about
Thank
it?
you, Sierra.
What was so good about it? I don't even.
The fighting scenes, Henry Cavill is a whole new perspective of Lex Luthor, bringing back what's his face, General Zod. It's a prequel to kind of Aquaman, and then to.
Did you say General Zod?
Yeah.
That was one of your favorite parts of the movie?
No, my favorite parts was when Batman had to fight all he came in and with all in the building and it was filled with bad guys, and he comes in and just wrecks those guys. Dunkirk was crazy.
He's got a simpleton
it was
mind, Sierra. He's got a simpleton.
Yeah, I'm very.
He probably doesn't like Inception because it's too hard to follow.
No, I loved Inception. Dunkirk is a crazy movie. He did that in one shot.
Amazing.
It was only one shot. He didn't,
it was very few. It wasn't one shot. It was just very, very few.
Pretty much one shot.
Did he do 1917? Because that was
No, I don't think he did that one.
That was a good movie.
But that was around the same time as Dunkirk.
I thought it might have been. So yeah, Christopher Nolan, he killed it in this movie. He's had some highs and he's had some lows. We all know that with Batman v Superman and Justice League. We're not trying to put a nail in the coffin or anything.
But he's had really good movies too.
He's had some really good movies too.
That bring those that just doesn't even make us think of Christopher Nolan.
What up, Willie's Pub 4? What up?
What up, my guy?
I don't know who you are, but
Willie's
welcome
Pub.
to the friggin' channel.
I can't wait to try your pub.
Oh no! So Isaac's saying that Dunkirk was a one shot in the sense that it didn't cut shots. It maintained a singular point of view. So meaning it just stayed in one point of view the entire time. So they probably did one shot, they kept the camera there, and then they redid the shot and then moved the shot somewhere.
Oh, I get you. So
Maybe.
only one point of view. It wasn't like okay,
I thought there was. It might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, so they don't do like what most movies do, where they face this person and
then
then they're having dialogue for the other person. They have the camera here. They just had the camera here this entire time for the whole movie.
Yeah.
One camera.
Okay.
Only. Yeah. So yeah, Emily Blunt killed it. I think we all can agree with that. She's been absolutely murdering the scene.
Yeah.
She's been murdering the scene ever since. For me, anyway, was A Quiet Place. One, that was the first time I ever watched a movie with her in it, and then she was in Jungle Cruise where she killed it there, and I'm sure she's had some other stuff that has been really good too. But the next individual that we want to chat about, which I think Regan and I are pretty excited to talk about, is Robert Downey Jr.
Ooh, baby.
The man, the myth, the legend, our Tony Stark.
You can
Our
really
Tony Stark.
tell that Regan likes him because of his facial hair. I think really gives it away.
Yep. If you look at his facial hair, he looks at Tony Stark and he takes a picture and he tries to match up his facial hair just like he did in Iron Man 1.
I have a picture of Iron Man on my mirror. I'm like, oh golly.
Yep.
He picks out. He's like, I'm so upset.
Real quick, I'm actually thinking of 1917 because
yeah, that's one whole shot.
Yeah, I think both of those is what they're talking about. Is to appear as a one-shot movie. Anyways, but sorry to cut in about Robert RDJ. Don't even, Isaac. Get out of here.
Get out of here. So Robert Downey Jr. plays Louis Strauss, who is he is a businessman. He's a philanthropist. He was a naval officer. He served some terms in the Atomic Energy Commission, the AEC, and he was second in chairman. He hated Oppenheimer during the movie for really three reasons. First off, they had vastly different political views, obviously, right? Oppenheimer led more towards communism at the beginning, and that's what he was. That's the whole movie in terms of the political side of it, what it was based off of. They both had different beliefs in regards to nuclear weapons and general policy. And so essentially we get this depiction of like three different eras, if you will, or three different scenes, right? We have the scenes where Oppenheimer's in the process of the timeline where he's developing and building the atomic bomb. Then we have the post-atomic bomb where we've got Strauss, who's basically I don't know what the word is. I think he might have sued Oppenheimer or something. I don't know. But basically, he was speaking to the Supreme Court about Oppenheimer, and he was opposing what he did, things like that. And then we have another scene where it was consistent throughout the movie, is we see the interrogation of Oppenheimer and his beliefs. And so RDJ throughout this movie, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna say anything less than a 5 out of 5, but this, like, RDJ was a 5 out of 5, no doubt.
100%, yeah.
There's there's nothing we could say about the character, about his portrayal, other than he just killed it. I didn't even think about him as Tony Stark, which is kind of weird.
Wow.
I mean, it is weird to see him. I mean, this is why after Marvel, what was Doolittle came out, but that was the next movie he did after Avengers, and now it's
gotta be
this.
hard to
I
get
believe
out
that's.
of.
Oh wait, but it sounds like he's doing Sherlock Holmes. Looks like he's doing Sherlock
Another
Holmes
one?
3. And he might, I don't know,
wow.
but I mean, we can talk about him being Iron Man, but he truly is a one-of-a-kind actor, kind of like a Johnny Depp type actor that he can kind of, I won't even say Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp I don't think he's even that good, Johnny Depp. But like Robert Downey Jr. can really,
different roles.
He really can. You know what? Actually, you know what? Johnny Depp is no, never mind. I'm thinking of all the roles that Johnny Depp has played, and Johnny Depp is fantastic. I take that back. But Robert Downey Jr. is like, yeah, he is a one-of-a-kind actors that you don't get anywhere else. That he can really dive into a character and really believe that who he is. It's kind of like the Shia LaBeoufs, and just fully own who he is, while being pretty much a fantastic person outside of acting too. So,
well, formerly he wasn't as fantastic, but
no,
agreed.
But I mean, I think, but
he's got some redemption.
He had to redeem himself, and I think he's turned himself around from that. And
for sure,
I'm thank the Lord for that, because he's done some fantastic work. And I think Christopher Nolan says that he is the perfect Iron Man. I think Christopher Nolan flat out said that he is basically meant for Iron Man. Sierra, would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Robert Downey Jr. is meant for anything.
I mean, did you?
What I think, my thing is like, you think of Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
And what do you think about? You think about Harry Potter.
Right.
You think of Chris Evans, or not Chris Evans. Yeah, you could say Chris Evans, but Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm.
You think Thor, right? And for Robert Downey Jr. for a long time, you thought Iron Man. This movie made me not even think about Iron Man whatsoever.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
It's very hard. And I was very impressed, because after the movie, I was like, I forgot that was Robert Downey Jr.
Dang.
Even though I know it was Robert Downey Jr., but you're just like, it didn't matter anything about what he did before. He completely masked his other characters that he's played in this movie, and it was really, really cool, because it's like, when you watch these movies, like, for an example, in Barbie, John Cena was in the movie, and by the way, John Cena was hilarious, but it was John Cena, right? It was John Cena playing John Cena, basically, and he's like that in almost everything he plays, and we haven't really seen much outside of that. We've been given RDJ as Tony Stark for 15 years, and now we see a different light that we're like, oh crap, I expect Tony Stark. This is something completely different, and this guy's a true professional. Like, he's so good at what he does.
Yeah.
And it was believable, and I thought that was really, really intriguing personally.
Question for you guys that have seen Oppenheimer, because Nate and I watched a little bit of he watched the documentary, and I sometimes would watch it. I would check in a little bit. Was Albert Einstein in the movie?
Yeah.
It was.
Who played Albert Einstein?
Well, not the real Albert Einstein.
Nuts.
Someone played as Albert Einstein.
Ah, man.
Sorry.
Thought it was the Batman versus Superman thing.
No, you're fine.
No.
Who played Albert Einstein?
I believe
nobody
it was
that you know.
Tom Conti. He didn't like
What?
it. Didn't. Ew. Tom Conti.
You put a T in there.
Tom Conti.
It's Conti.
Tom Conti.
Okay.
Satara Matic.
You want me to? What do you want me to do with the T, Sierra? You want me to not pronounce it? He has a T in there for a reason.
I didn't know that you said Tom Conti and then you said Tom Conti. So,
well, I don't know. Maybe you guys made fun of me before for speaking.
Regan.
Listen to Regan. Listen to him read.
Regent Dvorak. Regent Dvorak.
Yeah, I did. Freaking killed it.
Dvorak.
He does this. He like adds like letters. Yeah. It's like, gosh, come on, dude. Come on,
you guys.
Oppenheimer.
He was in the Dark Knight.
Yeah, he's the one that did the Heath Ledger one.
What did he do though?
We gotta get
prisoner
because we are freaking running a little not behind, but we're watching talking about two things.
Sorry.
The last person that we want to talk about, freaking Cecilian Murphy, as Regan would say. Cecilian Murphy.
It's Killian.
Cillian Murphy. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 easily. I haven't seen much of this guy, to be honest with you, in movies. I know he plays in Peaky Blinder.
Yeah.
He does look like a creepy dude. He plays in Peaky Blinders, which I haven't seen, which now I'm kind of curious to see. So if you guys have any thoughts about Peaky Blinders,
let us know.
Put your comments down. Blinders. From my understanding, it's like a gang in New York or back in the day or something.
Back in the day,
he was like the gang
20s,
leader.
1920s or something like that.
Yeah. So,
or the
I'm really intrigued with that.
1900s.
But this guy, like, we talk about RDJ and his ability to really take command of his character. This guy topped RDJ by like tenfold in this movie, in my opinion. This guy embodied what Oppenheimer was, and you really, like, for me, I didn't even know who Oppenheimer was, but I was deep down, I'm like, this guy was a messed up dude, and I feel bad for this guy. And this guy's just an actor who's portraying the pain and the suffering and the moral, ethical dilemma that Oppenheimer had to face by creating an atomic bomb, right? And you really feel that in this movie. And I was watching this interview with him, and I had seen this guy in some other stuff, and he didn't look as skinny. But in this movie, he was so skinny. He fit the role, and come to find out, this guy would eat 1 peanut a day for 30 days. And that's all he would eat to get his body slimmed down.
What? To
have, like, his skin to be tightened up. And, like, when you watch this movie, you're like, this guy needs to eat a freaking hamburger type thing.
Oh, my God.
In my opinion.
I think this
is all my opinion.
I get which is your opinion, but it just doesn't look like he ate a peanut a day. It just looks like it's his normal self. If you look at pictures of him, you would
Cillian Murphy eats
in like Disco Pig. It was 2001, or Peaky Blinders. It just.
Oh, sorry. He ate 1 almond a day for Oppenheimer.
Yeah. But like the thing is, he still looks
other
like
things,
it.
But at least there was an almond every day.
I guess
he would eat 1. Yeah.
But my thing is, like, if he ate normal, or what he was doing normally to the peanut, I don't think you would ever see any difference. Because maybe he did do that. I don't know what he actually did. It just doesn't look like he really did anything different compared to pictures.
I think you're off, dude. I think you need to go back and look.
I'm looking at Peaky Blinder right now. And here, I'm going to share it.
I've got my screen. I can show you my screen if you'd like.
You do it. You're the host.
Screen. Entire screen. Boom. Okay. So here he is normal.
Hang on, it's loading.
You could not tell me that there's no difference here.
Oh, yeah, for sure a difference.
So this is him in the movie. This is him normal.
No, that's
You could
I
not
don't.
tell me.
I don't really see it different.
Look at his.
I don't know. I don't
you
think
kidding
you have
me?
to, because that could still be like the thing. That I get what you're saying, but like that could be a picture of him. What he looks like a recent picture of him.
Okay, I can click on
So
this
go
one,
to
and it's still
that.
the
I
same.
think that's like a
Or
Peaky
this one.
Blinder
He
one.
looks healthy. In this, he does not look healthy, dude.
I don't know.
Look at
about
that. He looks
He
healthy.
just
I think biggest thing is you look at his neck. He's got
Yeah, look at this.
this like on the right or whatever. When on the right, it looks like he has a neck that supports his head. On the left, it's questionable.
Ah,
Let me
there we
see
go.
it.
There we go.
It's questionable. Look at the neck.
It is. But if you look at it, did you
Also,
know that
Killian
I don't know
Murphy
if that's-
only
not
ate
do
an
any-
almond today?
Killian also does not do any like media or social media or anything like internet stuff. Like he doesn't do any.
He
media.
doesn't have Twitter or Instagram or
Yeah,
anything.
anything. I
He's
apologize.
like, I'm too old for this stuff.
I am kind of an old lady and have to get to bed.
You're good.
So
We'll be
really
wrapping
nice.
this
Thanks,
up
Sarah,
here.
for joining us.
Hey, anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be dropping Sierra's Instagram and her following. Go and leave her a follower and tell her that the Goof and Goober Show says hi. Yeah, it should be fun.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
We'll wrap it
Yeah,
up here
really.
really quick here so that way you can get going. But overall, my quick little rating for Oppenheimer, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5, personally. Because I like Lord of the Rings and I like the extended version, I was going to say that the time was going to knock off some things, knock off some points, but if I do for one and not the other, then there's problems with my decision making. I like it long episodes and movies in Lord of the Rings. I liked it in this movie. I just had to not do it at 9 o'clock. So 5 out of 5 for me personally. I would definitely go see it if I were you. It is a mind bender. It is a story that you have to pay attention to. You will be locked into the movie, and there are times where you realize the weight of the world and what happened back in 1942. Man, it was an eye opener. And what's your rating?
For me, I give this. I mean, there's nothing really I can complain about. I give it a 5 because it really makes you think too. Because it made me think more about particles and really atoms and everything that's just holding us together. I was telling Matthew about this weekend. It's just kind of amazing about that we as humans are just held together by something. And believe, I believe it's God, believe whatever, but you have to admit there's something that is truly holding us together into all these atoms, into something. And so it's just amazing, what this kind of breaks that like atoms down, because it's, the atom bomb is basically cutting up atoms and then just using it as a weapon. And it kind of just made me really think about that. So I think for me, closing thoughts is there's something out there that's bigger than me and you, that's holding us all together, that's holding this universe together. And I truly believe that's Jesus Christ. And not to go like all serious on us but anything, but that's just what I want to say.
It does open that door.
It does.
It's
really
crazy.
does.
It's hard to believe that nothing created something.
That's true.
And it's hard to believe that you can be created perfectly without a creator. So it's for you guys to decide. If you enjoyed the show, leave your comments down below. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Watch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us some comments, some reviews. Communicate with us. Let us know what we're doing well, what we're not doing well.
Yep.
Really want some feedback. But other than that, concludes our show. Have a freaking great week. Thank you for joining us for freaking Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Double G Show. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Goof and Goober Show. And why don't you check out our Instagram page at the Goof and Goober Show for even more content and drop a follow. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.